Hello everyone, and welcome back to Real Tales. Today's story is going to be a bit of a trigger warning, as an unwanted situation. So view at your own risk. Long post, cheated on husband a long time ago. Admitted it recently. I need help moving on. Our status right now, relationship for 6 years, married for 2, male 28 and female 25, me. I had the affair a few months after our marriage. I believed he hated me for a forced marriage. My parents were very vocal about us getting married, to the point of making a scene at a Christmas dinner when we announced that we were moving in together. The next day, he proposed and was generally miserable due to the state of our life, which I mostly thought was fine, sometimes fun, but no. He kept saying he hated his life and I took that personally. I stopped attempting to look at the bright side of things and just allowed us to wallow in misery. Even if things were looking up for us, I stopped believing that anything was good about us, and that we made a horrible mistake getting married. I found solace with a co-worker. The affair lasted a month, with the first half being emotional, and the last half turning physical. During the time I was also habitually taking cocaine with another co-worker. At first it was fun and games, then it turned to a numbing agent for the issues I was having at home, and later for numbing my actions for cheating on my husband. At home, I lashed out at my husband. If he was miserable, well, so was I. I chucked all of the happy moments that I had held onto out the window and was angry at him 24 hours on 7. To a scary extent. Thinking back on it now, I'm frightened at how dark I became. I spent his money. I yelled and screamed at him about just how miserable I was. I wanted him to leave me because I was too chicken mad to do it myself. Finally, I sat him down and told him I was in love with someone else. I told him it was my co-worker and waited for his reply before I went on. Instead of the ire, he said he wanted to work it out, that he loved me and we could get through it. I was impressed and humbled that he still wanted me. I fell in love with my husband all over again in that moment, and all my actions became far too real to me. I made a choice at that moment that I'm still not sure was the best. I decided not to tell him about the fact that I slept with another man. Immediately after that conversation, I reinvented myself. I kicked the coke habit cold turkey. I cut off all contact with my co-workers. Later left my job and focused on making his home life as great as possible. These last 2 years have been the best for both of us. He's working his dream job. We're paying off debt quickly and saving a lot of money. Moved closer to the city to begin adventures. And we've had so many wonderful, truly wonderful moments. I initially decided to take this secret to the grave with me, never telling him, but instead dedicating my life to making our marriage work and becoming someone he could be proud of. About 3 months ago, I attempted suicide. Everyone was blindsided, but the repression of this secret was seeping out and my self-hatred was out of control. Even then, I refused to tell anyone, including my therapists, about the affair. I was put on medications, and after an especially positive, life-changing road trip that we took with friends, I knew I had been living on borrowed time. That no matter how happy he was telling me he was and how wonderful of a wife I was, I still robbed him of a choice of being happier without me. Last week, I told him that more had happened with my co-worker. I can't erase the expression he gave me from my mind, and I don't think it will ever leave. Reddit, I hurt him so badly. I never, ever wanted to hurt him so badly. I was a fool to ever think this day wouldn't come, and a fool to have ever strayed. He's the best thing that's ever happened to me. His reaction was calm and controlled. After being silent for a while, he said he wanted to work it out, mostly over the fact that the last 2 years of our life were the best he's ever had, according to him, and that I had changed to a large degree from who I used to be. He wants to work it out, though not through couples therapy as I suggested, but by moving on with our current great life and not looking back. Essentially, he told me to keep doing what I've been doing, continuing with my therapy, continuing with school and my weight loss plan, and we'd be fine. Along with the repression of this secret, a backlog of self-hatred, regret and desperation had finally caught up with me. I was 51 over 50 overnight last week by my psychiatrist, as he feared I would hurt myself. His mother and my family found out about the affair through this episode, all of whom agreed with my husband. I should move on from this. I'm happy every time I see my husband after he gets home from work, when he wakes up in the morning, and is complimenting the fact that there's no growing dark cloud over my head anymore. My eyes are brighter, my smile is bigger. He believes this is the beginning of a greater chapter in our life together. Everything is better than expected, so why, when I'm alone, do I go insane? I cry nonstop over the fact that I hurt him, that I deserve none of this, that I've already lost him and it's only a matter of time before he leaves me. I'm frightened of the fact that he stayed with me. I want to yell quite loudly for him to run away. Far away, and quickly. I know if I don't get over these emotions, our relationship doesn't have a chance. I don't want to sabotage it anymore. Reddit, how do I move on? How do I begin forgiving myself? Too long didn't read. Cheated on my husband during a very bad spell in our young marriage about 2 years ago. After telling him I had emotionally fallen for someone else, He said he wanted to work it out. I kept the fact that I had slept with someone else a secret and worked hard on our marriage and myself over the last 2 years to much success. We're both very happy. However, the repression and self-hatred was getting out of control, and after a suicide attempt, I admitted to my husband recently that the affair was also physical. He's forgiven me and wants to move on. I'm having a hell of a time forgiving myself. How can I accomplish this and begin to move on as he has? Original poster posted an update after 1 year, stating this: cheated on husband a long time ago. I admitted recently. I need help moving on. Original post too long didn't read. Cheated on my husband during a very bad spell in our young marriage about 2 years ago. After telling him I had emotionally fallen for someone else, he said he wanted to work it out. I kept the fact that I had slept with someone else a secret and worked hard on our marriage and myself over the last 2 years to much success. We're both very happy. However, the repression and self-hatred was getting out of control, and after a suicide attempt, I admitted to my husband recently that the affair was also physical. He's forgiven me and wants to move on. I'm having a hell of a time forgiving myself. How can I accomplish this and begin to move on as he has? First, I'd like to thank everyone for their answers. Whether insightful or aggressive, they were read and acknowledged. Yeah, so hours after having posted to R about this, my husband came home from work and told me he had read them. He's an avid Redditor, but our subreddit interests are somewhat different that I didn't expect him to look at R. He hugged me and gave me a big smile. Mostly, as he said, I wasn't trying to run away from the problem. Rather, I was looking for help as to how to take it on. And that meant a lot to him. As of then, I never wanted to look back again. It wasn't easy, but I achieved it. I forgave myself and am moving on. So I began talking about my feelings, my day, but mostly, why I love him. Every day I tell him why I like him and why I'm lucky to have him. And he never grows tired of it. If anything, it's boosted his confidence and performance at work and, other areas. In turn, he's begun speaking to me. He tells me thoughts and opinions without the fear of my now lessened oversensitivity. He's not done much of this before, and while great, it certainly has us butting heads. Because my confidence is growing, too. I began with dressing myself up a bit every day, even if I didn't go out. Then I added making the bed. Then I added Khan Academy video, Project Euler problems to boost my confidence and my intelligence. Then it kinda grew from there. Since our confidences have shot up for both of us, so has conflict. However, we both knew it's part of a growth process. He's now more vocal with his needs, and now I stand up for myself. A large amount of the issues that have plagued us from the very beginning of our relationship have been talked about and resolved. We're also beginning to speak in each other's language of love, his being touch, action, mine being talk, gifts. It's working out wonderfully. I'm currently looking for work in SF as I'm finished my paperwork for graduation. College is over. Yay! Hubs is looking at some major positive developments at work, and we're becoming more socially active. I had no idea our friends missed us. We both give credit to our increasingly ideal home life. We're making it happen, and it's great. To those who find themselves in a similar situation as I was, if you're truly sorry for your actions, and you say you're willing to do anything because you love this person with everything you've got, do it. Change for the better. Become a bigger contribution to your relationship and to society. Especially let them know how much they're wanted. But most importantly, truly learn from your mistakes and forgive yourself. Because when you do, happiness in a relationship thrives. No more dark clouds of regret or guilt, just smiles, kisses, and love. While I'm nowhere near an expert on relationships, I hope my story will help someone about to make the mistake, living with it, or dealing with the consequences. I'm lucky as duck to have a man who stayed. Even if yours doesn't, resolve the baggage. Your next love doesn't deserve your sadness over another relationship. I hope this has helped, and thank you again. Too long didn't read, forgave myself, moved on. Floating on cloud 9 with husband. Thanks you all. Edit. I just wish to clarify that in no way, shape or form do I believe I'm off the hook. If anything, I'll probably never really let myself off the hook. I'm well aware of what I'm capable of, and active prevention against that is having a partner, friends to help check your blind spots and have open communication with your significant other. At least, that's how it's been working out for me. These last few months since my last post have been like a large exhalation. I know hard times will come ahead, but right now, I'm certain that we'll be able to take on that challenge. The fear of losing my husband is far, far, far bigger than my fear of being alone or my need of constant attention. He is my best friend, my companion, my lover. And I'll do my damnedest to make sure he knows that. If I have to do that for the rest of my life, I'm very willing to do it. And now let's head to the second story of the day. Sister is either cheating on husband or is incredibly stupid. What do you think? And should I say anything? So here's the story. Of course, names and locations have been changed. My sister Mary has been married to Mark for the last 8 years. They have 2 kids, one elementary school age and the other much younger. They have had a pretty rocky relationship, and I've never really thought my sister was in love with Mark from the start. I've felt this way for several reasons, which I will elaborate on further down. Mary just announced on Facebook that she plans on visiting an old high school friend, Steve, in Sweden in a few months. Steve actually bought her ticket since my sister and her husband don't have very much money. This raises a pretty big red flag, cause really, who pays for a friend's international plane ticket? Another red flag would be that my sister and this Steve have a prior relationship, as in he was with someone else and they were doing it behind the friend's back. So huge red flag. Not sure if Mark knows about that aspect of their relationship or not, of course. This was all in high school, so maybe they've grown up. Now this could be a completely innocent, but it's pretty damn suspicious. The only reason I could see that this would be innocent was because one of their mutual friends recently committed suicide. So maybe they need some time to reminisce and remember their friend. But still, that's something that can be done online, Skyping, and doesn't need to be in person. Not to mention it's international. Now on to why I don't think my sister is in love with her husband anymore. When she was pregnant with their second child, Mark told her he wanted a divorce. They went to counseling and decided to try again. Mark is not very active in their lives. My sister basically has to take care of everything. He works part-time in a dead-end retail job and always talks about making a change, going back to school, etc., but then never does anything about it. He rarely helps out with their 2 kids and prefers to sit and play video games all day. He's the kind of person who messes around about everything in his life but never does anything different. I can tell that she's unhappy a lot of the time. Whenever Mark is around, she gets really tense and angry at him and is constantly yelling at him to do this or that. Once they decided to give it a second try, things seemed okay. But then a few years later, Mary's friend killed himself. Now the friend that committed suicide, Anthony, was someone she had a semi-relationship in high school with. She was in love with him in high school and for a long time afterwards. She ended up married to Mark instead. But after Anthony found out he had cancer, he told her that he made a mistake and wished that he would have given a real relationship with her a chance. Nothing happened between Mary and Anthony more than a few words, and they both went on with their lives, though they stayed pretty close friends. He eventually committed suicide because he couldn't handle having cancer anymore, as he was in constant pain. After his death, my sister went through a really difficult time. She was constantly posting stuff on Facebook about Anthony's death. Now, of course, they were close friends and she has a right to grieve any way she wants. But her post sounded more like she lost her lover instead of her friend. It made a lot of people uncomfortable even, and there were a few people who were asking me if Mary and Anthony were in a relationship before he died. So I don't know what to think. I just don't think that someone would pay for an international plane ticket for someone who is just a friend. So the only way I'm seeing this play out is one of 2 scenarios. Mary is already emotionally cheating on Mark and plans to make it physical when she goes to Sweden. Or Mary truly thinks this is platonic and is in for a rude surprise when she gets there and Steve tries something with her. And if this is the case, kind of makes me worry about her, since this guy is the only connection she would have in this country. I also have to wonder if Mark is so checked out of the relationship that he doesn't care about the red flags, or if he's truly so dense that he doesn't see them. What do you think, Reddit? Am I being unfair to my sister? I don't want to think that she would be the kind of person who would do this to her husband. And maybe I'm too jaded since I can't see this as a platonic situation at all. I also don't know whether I should say anything to my sister or just mind my own business. I'm more wanting to mind my own business, really. But I also feel like it's unfair to her kids. Too long didn't read. Sister 28 female had a plane ticket bought for her to go to Sweden to see friend 29 male, and it appears to me that she is cheating on husband 28 male. Not sure if I should say anything. And now let's head to the third and last story of the day. I'm pregnant by my friend after a one-night stand. We're both still reeling after our partners cheated on us with each other. Okay, this is a doozy, so please bear with me. I'm trying to make sense of it myself. My ex-husband and I were friends with another couple, Larry and Kate. Recently, Larry and I started to work jobs that require us to be away from home on evenings. My ex and Kate started to hang out when we couldn't be there, dinners, taking the dogs out for walks, shows, etc. Larry and I were relieved that they were getting along and keeping each other from being lonely. But you know what happens next? Kate and my ex announced during what was a nice dinner at their house that they had fallen in love and wanted to divorce us. The fallout was awful. Larry kicked Kate out, I kicked my ex out, and they both got somewhere to live together. I was inconsolable, catatonic at most times, and only therapy and my family's support got me through. I filed for divorce before ex could, and that is now underway. Larry and I clung to each other a bit, as the other knew what the other felt and vice versa. Since I live close to work and he is working remotely, he basically moved in the guest bedroom, going to his flat only for a few things and watering the plants. He's planning on selling it and is having it surveyed. We had a very platonic relationship, and even though I'm older, He felt like my big brother even before this mess. Anyway, Valentine's comes around and we decided to get pissed and commiserate. He showed me a necklace he had bought for Kate for their anniversary. It's a custom design and took a couple of months to be completed. It's gorgeous and I told him so. He said he forgot about it until he got the email saying it was dispatched a month ago. He can't force himself to get rid of it and I understood. I still have my wedding rings in my drawer. I don't know who made the first move, but it happened and we slept together that night. We couldn't look at each other the next morning and he moved back to his flat. I was very sad and locked myself away again, hating myself for letting it get so far. We didn't talk or text for a couple of weeks. I thought I lost a really good friend. He came around one night with dinner and flowers, asking for forgiveness that it happened. He blamed himself and I told him it was both our mistake. We both decided to forget it happened and carry on. He came around often again, but never staying the night. 3 weeks ago, I started to feel dizzy and nauseous at work. I thought it had something to do with my new medication, so I set up an appointment with my GP. Long story short, we found I'm pregnant. So here I am, scared and anxious to tell Larry. I want to keep the baby as I have always wanted to be a mother, but I don't want to lose him if I do. We've just gotten our equilibrium back. Original poster posted 2 updates. This is the first. I'm pregnant by a friend after a one-night stand. We're both still reeling after our partners cheated on us with each other. First off, thank you so much for the advice and replies. I read the all. Even the ones that were denouncing me for baby trapping Larry. To be clear, my ex and I wanted children and started to try when I hit 30. Issues on both sides made it clear we can't have any naturally, so we saved up for a few rounds of IVF before discussing adopting. I do have a good, stable job, and with the money I saved up, Bean and I will be set for a while. My mother has been over the moon about the new grandbaby and has made plans to retire and help me should I find myself a single mother. Anyway, a couple of days after I posted, I invited Larry for dinner. I declined alcohol, which had his eyebrow raising, but I don't drink if I'm working the next day and he knows this. I told him after dessert, and yes, he was stunned. I'm on birth control due to PCOS, and yes, BC fails too. I told him straight up I don't expect anything from him, but he should know as it was his child too. I wanted to keep Bean and he can be involved or not as much as he wants. He was quite concerned about my health, and besides a bit of sickness and dizziness here and there, I'm mainly alright. He nods and tells me he needs to go home and think. I agree and told him to call me when he feels he's ready. 3 days later, he tells me he's coming over, and he brings a couple of suitcases with him. He declares he's moving in and helping with the pregnancy, baby and all. I laughed until I was crying, but I will admit it was a relief and joy to know the father wants to be involved. We've sat down, hashed a lot of boundaries, agreements, and expectations of the whole thing. We're going to a lawyer so we can settle the contract. I am confident he just wants best for the Bean and I. He offered to buy the ex's half of the house so we could all stay here. He's settled in his room. My library office is being turned into a nursery. He offered to convert the shed as the new library for my birthday when he could see I was crying over where to put my books. I have no romantic expectations of him and I suspect he feels the same. I get more hugs and forehead kisses though, which is nice. And it's lovely to have someone rub your back and pull your hair away when you're sick. We get to go together on my next appointment with the doctor. Too early to say the gender yet though. And now to the last update of the third story. Hello lovely Reddit people. I wasn't going to update so soon, but I had a few messages asking for one. I really wish this whole story is fake, but I'm living it. Morning sickness is basically all day sickness for me, so I've been diagnosed with hyperemesis gravidarum. Basically, Bean is making me throw up everything I eat and drink, so I'm being monitored on medicals and strict bed rest. I've been put on remote work for now so I don't lose my sanity due to boredom, but it's close. In other news, Bean will come out with a hatred, love for Disney, as I've been watching all the movies by release date and I'm on Aladdin and I've been singing the songs along. Larry has been wonderful so far. He's been helping me as much as possible. He's also gone fully remote so I can have assistance and make sure I can get back to bed after using the toilet and have all the ginger tea I can take. I did ask about the increase in affection and he admitted he reads some books. Apparently, it's good to have a lot of affection and reassurance from the father to the mother, as it helps in keeping the pregnancy a positive experience and helps both parents bond with baby better. Who knew? We did reiterate with each other that while we love each other, we're not in love with each other. And no, I really don't think I can ever see him that way. As for the exes, we're no contact with them and our families have not offered any news either. The only people who know about my pregnancy are my mother, Larry, my GP and my OBGYN, and me. Larry is reluctant to tell his family and I understand. We'll announce the pregnancy when I feel better and we know the gender. After that, we don't really care what anyone else thinks or says. So, yes, that's it for now. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and mothers to be out there. And this is it for today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Subscribe for more content every day.